What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another movie review. And today we are talking about 2026's just released in theaters on Valentine's Day. And this movie is titled Crime 101 from director Bart Layton. And I don't necessarily recognize his work. It says he's an English documentary filmmaker and has done works like The Imposter back in 2012 and American Animals in 2018. Interesting. He also did a film called Becoming Alexander, 47 minutes long, in 2005. Colin Farrell as himself. Interesting. I wonder if that was from like the movie Alexander or something, and he did like the documentary behind it. Interesting though. It does say he is writer and director of his films, so he's one of those directors where like if he did it, he wrote it and directed, and he produced Crime 101 as well. So he wrote, directed, and produced Crime 101 with his star-studded cast of Chris Hemsworth as Mike or James or whatever you want to call him, Mark Ruffalo, Halle Berry, Barry Keoghan, Monica Barbara's gorgeous ass in there, Nick Nolte for a quick second. Love Nick Nolte. Corey Hawkins is in there as well, and he's, I know from being Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton, but apparently he was also in Iron Man 3. Interesting, I don't remember that. But he was also in Kong Skull Island, so he's been in a few things. But Monica Barbaro, she was like the love interest for Chris Hemsworth in this movie. I know her best from Complete Unknown, where she played Joan Baez, and she was like with Bob Dylan in that movie, and oh, I thought she was so gorgeous and so talented in A Complete Unknown. Seeing her in this, I was like, oh, I like them together. So, you know, between Chris Hemsworth character and her character of Maya, I actually hope if things work out the way they should have at the end of this movie, maybe they end up, you know, happily ever after type of thing. But I felt like the ending of this movie, they left it open just enough. If they wanted to do a sequel, they could, but if not, this is kind of a satisfying ending and just a one and done type of thing. But I thought it was hilarious that we get people that are like Thor, Hulk, Storm, a possible Joker for the Batman in the Batman Part 2. You know, and like we have all these people that play different superheroes in this movie not being superheroes at all. You know, I thought it was just funny, you know, 3 different Marvel superstars together doing this film. And who knows, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, and Halle Berry might end up together in Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars. And maybe this isn't the only film that they did recently together. I wouldn't be surprised. But then there's like guys like Nick Nolte, my freaking absolute guy, who I know from things like 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy, I believe. And those movies were absolutely hilarious and really good, actually. And, you know, he plays like a brief little part in this. But I also know Nick Nolte from being Bruce Banner's father in the 2003 Ang Lee Hulk, and I grew up on that movie and absolutely thought Nick Nolte was a madman, but also incredible. Like every time he's on screen in that film, and you're just like, no, fuck you, you know, like he's got such a good voice. And in 48 Hours, you know, he's young, you know, this is in the 80s, him and Eddie Murphy, absolutely hilarious together. But like a young Nick Nolte is so strange to see him with with Eddie Murphy and for 48 Hours, and then another 48 Hours, and that was in another 48 Hours was in 1990, so 8 years later, and you can see just how much Nick Nolte aged in those 8 years, and Eddie Murphy still looks the same to this day. But it says Nick Nolte has been in 101 movies. Congratulations, Nick Nolte, you absolute beast. And, you know, he says, like, he's been in things like Die My Love recently in 2025 as well. What did Nick Nolte do in that? Interesting. Played a guy named Harry. It was in Tropic Thunder? Nick Nolte? Tropic Thunder? 4-Leaf Tayback? I don't think I've seen Tropic Thunder since I was a kid. Talk about a comedy that I need to rewatch. He did Over the Hedge. He's got to have done a ton of voice acting work just because of how like iconic Nick Nolte's voice is, but he had to have also did things like he did The Mandalorian. He's Queel. He's friggin' I Have Spoken, you know, like that is Nick Nolte. Love that. Nick Nolte, what a legend. But Barry Keoghan's been busy recently too. He did Saltburn last year. Now he's doing the Batman Part 2. He did Crime 101. You know, Barry Keoghan's been around, man. He's doing the Peaky Blinders film that's coming out soon. Halle Berry, she's been in 88 films herself. A lot of X-Men films. It says she was in the John Wick 3. She was in Robots. Interesting. Robots in 2005. Halle Berry was in. Oh, she's Cappy. Interesting. Chris Hemsworth, it says, has been in 58 films, and it says he was in F1? What? Chris Hemsworth was not in F1. And if you say he was, well, maybe he was on like a screen or something for a brief cameo, but that doesn't count. He wasn't in F1. But he does say he was in a ton of Marvel movies. Furiosa, if you haven't seen that, oh, he was great as Dementis or whatever his name was. Yeah, Dementis in Furiosa. He was also in Rush. He was the voice of Optimus in Transformers 1. Spiderhead a couple years ago, 2022. I actually quite liked Spiderhead. I thought Chris Hemsworth played a good little creepy role in that. But yeah, I haven't seen a ton of his work. How many movies has Mark Ruffalo done? 94 movies from Mark Ruffalo. Poor Things, Mickey 17 just recently, Zodiac. Ruffalo's a good actor. I've seen him in quite a few things. 13 going on 30. I love him as Hulk, though. He really should get his own Hulk movie. Universal, stop fucking that up. You know, give a Hulk a solo movie. And if you're not going to let Marvel make a solo Hulk movie, then you make it. You put up the budget for it, and you make a solo Hulk movie. Let it be attached to the MCU. Let it not be attached to the MCU. Like, figure it the fuck out. Like, I think out of all the companies, like Sony, I think it's something like every 5 years they have to make a Spider-Man movie, or the rights revert back to Marvel, where I think Universal has a deal for Hulk where it's like, hey, we own Hulk in perpetuity. You know, like, no matter what, they own Hulk. There is no, they have to make a film with him. And, you know, Universal would be dumb to sell that character just because it's worth so much money. So, like, the only way for Marvel to really get their rights back to Hulk is for them to be like, hey, here's a boatload of cash. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever end up doing that, but I really hope one day Marvel gets back all of their characters, and they get back the Sony Marvel characters from, you know, Spider-Man. They get all those back. They can get Hulk back. You know, I really hope so, because if not, it's just depressing. Every year, you're like, God, they just to think like they were going bankrupt. So like years ago, they had to sell off their rights to Spider-Man for like $2 million, and now it's like $1 billion character. Like, I hope Sony fumbles the bag and just the rights revert back to Marvel, but for Universal, they're going to have to just sell out a boatload of cash, and, you know, Universal's just holding Hulk hostage. So poor Ruffalo, I don't think will ever get his own solo movie. But in Crime 101 here, he's playing yet another detective, and something about a Mark Ruffalo detective role you just buy. He makes a good cop, you know, a good, like, I'm putting the pieces together, and I'm going to hunt down this guy, and I'm figuring it out, you know, putting the puzzle together. Mark Ruffalo, for some reason, really nails that character, and I think he's going to play many more detectives in his future. He's played many in his past already, and I foresee Mark Ruffalo playing more characters like this. But the only real gripe I had with this entire movie was Chris Hemsworth's character. And it wasn't that he did a bad job, because I think Chris actually did a very good job. But how can you be Chris Hemsworth and be that handsome, and then be on a date with somebody like Monica Barbaro, and then you're like socially awkward, and you're like introverted, and you're like not talking, you can't make eye contact, you're anywhere but the eyes, you're just like, what do you mean? You know, like you're using one word answers. Like, he just wasn't that interesting a guy, being, you know, this introverted, you know, not doing anything. Like, if he's going to be a bank robber and this is going to be a heist film, shouldn't it be about a heist guy that's like spending the money lavishly and, like, you know, being reckless with it? I think, you know, if it's going to be a heist film, being a Point Break type of heist film where it's much more entertaining and there's a lot more excitement going on, that is still the best heist film I've seen, and the most engaging and most intense. But seeing this film in theaters, you know, it was a touch long, like 2 hours, 20 minutes. But seeing it in theaters, you know, there is some aspect to this where the mystery is unfolding, and you're like, oh shit, is he going to get caught? Is he going to rob the place successfully? You know, that type of thing. And it's unfolding the whole time, and you're like, all right, I'm interested. I'm into it. You know, what's going to happen to Halle Berry's character? Is Nick Nolte and Barry Keoghan going to fuck everything up? Maybe. Is Ruffalo going to catch his guy? Is he going to catch the wrong guy? You know, like, and by the ending, I think it was satisfying in a sense, but maybe other people would be like, that was an awful ending. Oh, I was so let down by that ending. Where I got to the end and I was fairly satisfied, but also felt like there could have been more. So maybe that's why I said, like at the beginning of the video, maybe, just maybe, they left it open enough that if they want to do Crime 102 or whatever, you know, the second one, and do a sequel to this, they could. But the reason why it's Crime 101, it's not like Zoe 101 or anything like that. Like, Crime 101 is he's a thief, he robs banks, and it's always done right off the 101 highway in LA. So, you know, that's why where the 101 comes in. But I thought it was well done. I thought it was a decent little heist film. The little synopsis on Letterboxd reads, always have an exit plan. An elusive thief eyeing his final score encounters a delusioned insurance broker at her own crossroads. As their paths intertwine, a relentless detective trails them, hoping to thwart the multi-million-dollar heist they are planning. Ooh, yeah, so, and that's pretty much what happens. You know, you get to the end of the film and there's a cop right in the middle of this heist and you're like, oh boy, is the cop gonna die? Are they gonna die? Is he gonna shoot him? Are they gonna shoot him? What's gonna happen? Is he gonna get away with the money? You know, like, it's not necessarily one of those where by the end it's happily ever after for the thief and he gets away with the money, but it's still a very good film. I thought it was good. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, about a 7 out of 10. If I had to give it a true 10 score, it's probably like a 7.6, 7.7. You know, pretty damn good. I enjoyed it. Not the best film I've seen of this year, or not even the best heist film I've ever seen, but still well done. Did feel like one of those early 2000s heist films that we just haven't gotten in a while. So yeah, make more movies like this and I'll be at the theaters checking it out. And this was my first movie I saw in theaters in 2026, so it was good to go get back to the movie theater. But comment below, what movies have you seen recently? What movies do you want to see in the theaters soon? I'd love to hear your score for Crime 101 or your thoughts on this film. Please comment those down below in the comment section, or you can send them to me on my other social medias. Links for those down in the description below. And if you made it this far into the video and you'd like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is dropping a like on this video, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and you get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name's Big Cam, and I will see you beautiful folks in the next one. Peace.